Good evening, race fans, and welcome to another episode of Speed Talk. Tonight is episode 26. We are joined by a special guest, Mr. Racindirt himself, Trenton Berry. Trenton Berry, welcome to the podcast.
Hey man, appreciate you guys having me on very much. You boys are doing a good thing here, so I'm proud to be a part of it here for today's episode.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
appreciate you taking the time to hop on with us, and yeah, we're excited to have you on. Um, first question I want to ask, what are your ties to racing, Trenton, and how did you get started and looped in with the whole racing deal? Like before Racing Dirt, was it as a kid? Did you like going to the
Yeah.
track? Did you grow up around someone that was involved in it? Where did you cut your teeth with the racing world?
Yes. So it's a little different path than most people. The summer I was 12 years old, I guess probably actually about the summer I was 11 that they started working on building a new racetrack, and it was about 10 minutes from my house. And I just grew up out in the country, about 20 minutes from where I live right now, and have since moved away and went and lived life and lived a few places, but have moved back home here in the past 4 or 5 years, about 20 minutes from where I grew up. And they built a track there and right off the side of a major U.S. highway, and just a little country bull ring is called Dallas County Speedway. And we went there every Friday night because out in the country, like where we lived, you had nothing to do. I mean, I'm talking, I grew up a mile and a half down a gravel road. I didn't have a computer in my house until after I was out of high school. That was the first computer I
Dang.
had with my laptop to go to college. So it just, the world that I'm living in and what I'm doing now is not really what you would have thought from coming where I grew up. But it was great, man. My mom and dad are still alive and doing well. And just talked to them yesterday, as a matter of fact. So, but it was cool because it was like you either went to the races or you had not really a whole lot to do. And so um, it was what we did every Friday night from the time I was 12 years old on. And like it was a thing to get on the internet at that time. And so then I found out there were a few other racetracks around the area, and I had to go figure those out. And I convinced my mom and dad to take me to some of them, and we watched some great races. Dirt late models were really at the forefront of what the premier racing in our area was, and man, we had some good ones for a while, and that was really just it. I never sat in a race car, never really cared to sit in a race car, still don't care to sit in a race car. That's not a thing. I've been told by all of you guys that's a fortunate thing that's never tripped my
It's probably
trigger.
smart.
But yeah, so I just been on the other side of it, man. I went to school for broadcast journalism. My first love in the world's radio, and I just kind of got started working with some guys in Kansas City called the Racing Boys, and it just took off from there.
Who were the racing boys? Are they any names that we would recognize?
Maybe. So they did the Chili Bowl for years and years, and they were the first ones that streamed it. Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott are their names, and they're from Kansas City. So, here I was. I had went to college in a town of about 150, 60,000 people in Springfield, Missouri, and worked my first job in radio, and was fortunate, man. I had a great mentor that got me started. He actually just retired. He was a pregame host of the Kansas City Chiefs radio
Dang.
network, like the Chiefs radio network, and he was a 44-year voice of Missouri State Bears athletics, men's basketball, baseball, and football. And man, he gave me a chance, and he took me in as a 20-year-old kid and got me on the air, and I got production experience. And to this day, guys, like I work in essentially new age modern television for all intents and purposes, streaming TV. Um, but my first love is radio, and I still do a little bit of it every now and then on some fill in roles and whatnot. But so those were kind of some of my people that really helped get me started. And yeah, I remember we did the first Chili Bowl live audio broadcast, and sorry, I don't know if something popped up there. My phone rang, but I was part of the first Chili Bowl live audio broadcast that they did, and then they morphed on to video down the line. But I learned video streaming with them in the studio, and man, we were pushing live studio racing talk shows, essentially podcasts, but not, they weren't called podcasts at the time. They had a studio in Kansas City, and We were doing that in 2008, 2009.
Dang. That was probably back before, like you said, that was a big thing. I mean, there's podcasts everywhere nowadays, and that was kind of
Yep.
back before its time.
Yeah, it really was. And so they're still, even today, they're still on Saturday mornings in Kansas City on a 50,000 watt AM radio station. I don't know if you guys are much into AM like sports talk
Yeah.
radio, but like in Kansas City, there's two sports radio stations, and they're on the one. And I guess, I got a chance to work there too, so I'll just go ahead and say they're on the best one of the markets. So it's cool. They still have me on from time to time, and I'm happy to share whatever's going on. It's kind of like I am with you guys tonight. So um, that was a little bit of the kind of my upbringing that got me to it. I mean, those boys, I owe them a lot. They taught me how to stream. They taught me about video. I worked with video cameras and news packages and storytelling and stuff like that in college. But it was like, man, at that time I was really into radio, and I can for sure tell you I was not going to go downtown and report on the latest guy that they locked up downtown at county jail. Like that was never going to be my path in life. I was 100% sports. So, man, it's just timing, and got lucky and was able to fuse my one passion for broadcasting and my other passion for racing. And so it's wild. It still is wild. So some days like today, it doesn't quite feel wild, but it's still pretty special deal for sure.
So what
Yeah,
was, no, I was just gonna say, what were some of the difficulties you dealt with, Trenton? I mean, when you first started up, racing dirt, and I really
Yeah,
remember, did you guys start in like 2012, 2013 era?
13.
Yeah.
So we start. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, what were kind of some of the struggles that, you kind of went through getting this deal fired up?
Well, first off, we were broke. So that was
That
the
don't
biggest
help.
struggle. Yeah. So we started in 2010. Stick and I did. I don't know if you guys know him or not. You guys might. He's around at all the races, but he like never goes to the pits. So you guys might know him. You might not. But anyway, and he's still my right hand in this whole thing that we do. 15 years later, but we started in 2010, and we were going to try to be a video company. But the problem is we didn't have any we didn't have any money, and we didn't have any equipment. So like first off, we had to find some cameras. Um, so so getting that initial equipment was really tough. And man, if you guys have time for a story, I'll tell you. I had my mom had paid on some. There was some little kind of life insurance policy from the time I was born that once I got 18 years old, I could cash out with no penalty. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was about $2,000 at that time. And I shouldn't say it wasn't, because she did everything she could do and contributed to that for me. And at that point, I needed that money, and so I was very fortunate to be able to have that. Stick had an old ragged out Jeep that he sold, and we each bought our first two cameras that came off Craigslist. Now listen, I don't know. Do you boys know about Craigslist?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so so my camera came from a psychiatrist who worked the night shift at an outpatient clinic 2 hours down the road from where I was at.
Damn.
So I loaded up. And met this guy about 8:30 one night, right outside his work, and bought my first video camera. I still have it. It's in my basement. About 3 weeks or a month later, somewhere around there, Stick's right camera came up on Craigslist, and he had sold that Jeep, and so he had a little bit of cash in his pocket. We met this guy. We met these couple guys at a grocery store about 9:30 one night up in North Kansas City, and he got his video camera. So like that was the first obstacle, and then probably more along the lines of the question you were asking. 2013 rolls around, and we need to start streaming. There's a couple people had streamed before us, but there wasn't a lot, and it certainly wasn't a deal like, hey, we're going to go stream every weekend. But we needed to exist in that world. One, we already had the knowledge, we just didn't have the equipment, so we had to figure that out, how to do that. And then once we got rolling, convincing the promoters that, hey, let's try this. This is a new thing. And the internet. I mean, the internet was terrible, and the internet was terrible for a long time. The internet was really bad, by and large, those first 2 or 3 years that we were there. And not only was that bad, but like a lot of the hardware that relied on that internet connection and function because of it was not very good too. And so we had a lot of ups and downs, mainly a lot of downs on nights that you just struggled to get a stream out. And it's not really the case anymore. You'll have the occasional thing, we might run into a legitimate issue one, two, three times a year, but that's really it. Back in those days, it could be a million things. So those are just some of the early struggles that we went through. But you know, I I wouldn't trade those nights that I thought the world was coming to an end for anything, because it's really led to a pretty cool platform and program currently.
So now with you driving up and down the road and going to all these races and with the streaming, the mic in the infield, what's kind of the grind look like for you week to week to get prepared for like this USMTS stuff this weekend and whatnot?
Sure. So there's always research in my job, and it never stops. And it can be as simple as, hey, catching up with the top five guys' Facebook pages. That's one thing that I will say has made it nicer, is the access to information, beyond the fact that if I need something I can send a text or call, and about everybody will pick up the phone, which I really appreciate the racers' time for that, and I respect their time and try not to waste it. But man, just being prepared, like that's a lot of it during the week. I'm also the guy that pays all the racetracks. Unbeknownst to what you see on the internet, sometimes like we pay every racetrack every time we stream. Now, sometimes we pay night of at the track. Sometimes we're not at every event. Sometimes we pay after the events, and we mail checks. I spent a good chunk of today mailing checks out to racetracks. So that's a lot of what I do. The series stuff has really changed my day to day, because I was the producer for a long time, and I don't fill that role anymore. So when I went to the infield, a lot of what I did changed, and a lot of it really has intensified this year with all of the races and the events in the series. So I'm also the sponsorship guy, so that stuff's pretty set right now. We're just working through what we got agreed to, but that really dominates a lot of my December, January, February. Help with putting schedules together. I'm always talking to promoters. I think I had 6 phone calls after 5 o'clock here tonight. So the one thing I will say, if you're going to be in business, you better figure out how to answer the phone and be accessible to people. That'd be one of the biggest things I could tell somebody, because if you're not, they're just going to move on down the line. So every day is a little bit different, I will tell you. And I'm working with some new equipment here at the house. I'm going to have a new microphone out for this weekend, a brand new wireless audio system. So I was trial and error in that here in my kitchen today. So real rock star stuff for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That is pretty cool. So, Trenton, I guess I don't want to say there's been some, in recent weeks, there's maybe been some negativity behind streaming. We've talked with Bob and Tyrone. I don't know if you saw that, talking about just
Yep.
racetracks are kind of struggling getting people in the grandstands right now. And there's that stereotypical comment, well, streaming's the issue. What's your take as far as being on the streaming side of that question?
Yep. So I wish streaming was the issue, because my bank account would look a lot better if it was. So here's the deal, and it's went for 15 years like this. We go as the racetracks go. Short of a 6 o'clock thunderstorm, heavy clouds that doesn't rain. In which case, at that time, I just hate to inform all the promoters that the weather is telling you what to do here, right? So like the weather is saying, do not do this, and sometimes they trust their intuition, sometimes they don't. I will tell you, at that point, streaming hurts racing, because if that promoter goes to push through, more likely than not, they're gonna lose on the show, and we're gonna get a little bit of an inflated number of people that are staying home to watch. I'll tell you this: as a company, Racindirt's down 20% revenue, gross revenue, year to date. The primary driver for our revenue is monthly and annual subscriptions. Above everything else that we do, that is the difference maker for our company. And we are down 20% annual revenue right now. So I tell people that all the time that we talk to. The low hanging fruit right now is, hey, man, screw those streamers. And I get it. The people that don't have 15 years of spreadsheets are going to look at it. Heck, I would look at it and be like, yeah, well, okay, that's maybe the issue. I will tell you, there is kind of one unintended consequence of all this that nobody ever really planned for. Um, and that is being able to watch your favorite national tours at every single race. And now, so if a racetrack promoter comes to me and says, "Hey, man, streaming is really hurting me," I will listen to them if they say it's because of the World of Outlaw late models, the World of Outlaw sprint cars, high limit sprint cars, USAC sprint cars. Did I say the Lucas Oil late model series? There's 5 or 6 of the largest national tours. If somebody wants to say that, heck, if they want to say their racetrack suffers on the nights at USMTS races on a Friday or Saturday night, I will listen to that as well, because I think that is very much the truth. And I will say, I don't know that the streamers really screwed that up, but it's because of us that that has happened. And that's not something you're going to get a lot of people to tell you, but it's the truth. But as far as like, hey man, Mississippi Thunder Speedway's down, we must be killing it on our end. No, we're not. And our that 20% has forced us to make some tough decisions. It's forced us to really watch our dollars and cents of everything that we do. It's forced us to figure out how to travel lighter. It's forced us to do a whole lot of things that when, for so many years we were just in growth mode, growth, 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 growth. And I can tell you that's a lot more of a desirable position to be in than the one that we're in right now, where we're trying to figure out how to meet our margins based on working backwards. And that's what a lot of racetracks, unfortunately, are doing too. I'll tell you another thing. The racetracks out of this deal right now that are in better shape are the ones that have low overhead to get started. And that's your country tracks, that's your smaller type facilities, because the easiest thing to lose yourself in as a racetrack is just operating expense, and it can get out of control quick, whether it's too much help, whether it's too much purse money. There's a whole lot of too muches, whether it's buying too much food and the crowd not showing up and not being able to reuse all that, especially if it's prepared. I mean, it's done if it's prepared. So there's a number of things there. Like your lights are pretty much a fixed cost. Your insurance is basically a fixed cost, and your purses are too. Although every racetrack does have a lot of say in their purses. But I will tell you, the racetracks right now that are in better shape are the ones that can operate with lower overhead, and it costs them less to open the gates. Every racetrack has a dollar figure to open their gates. You guys, I don't know if you've ever looked into that or not,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's a really interesting study if you can get these promoters to tell you what does it cost to open the gates. Some of them will, some of them won't, and it varies. It's anywhere from probably 4 to 5 thousand on the low end for most places to 15,000 plus, and that doesn't factor in a Knoxville and Eldora, Lucas Oil Speedway. I'm sure they're well even above that, but a lot of racetracks set around $7,000 to $12,000 to open the gates is what that costs them for just a regular weekly show. That's not a special event to open. So those tracks that are on that lower side are going to be set up here, at least in the short term, for better success for sure.
Absolutely. And you can, like you said, you can start doing the math on that stuff real quick. If it costs to play $7,000, $10,000 to start tonight, you figure they got X amount of cars paying X amount of pit pass, and you got so many people in the grandstands, and you
Yep.
need, you need this many. Like Bob and Tyrone, they laid it out pretty straightforward for everyone the other day. If we have
Sure.
X amount of people in the grandstands, we can afford to pay the racers X amount of dollars. If we have 200 less people, we got to pay you this much less. I mean, it's just any way you look at it, it's simple math, and um,
Yeah.
I mean, it
It,
really
it's so
is.
it's simple math, and it's simple in theory. The hard part is figuring out what everybody's struggling with here, and I hope the race fans take this to heart. It's just like, man, two to three to five people makes a difference. 10 people, 20 people, 50 people makes an enormous difference on the night of a racetrack. And sometimes your margins are thin between making it and not making it, and every race fan is so appreciated, and it's not the race fans' fault. I don't want them to watch this and go like, well, hey, he's saying it's the race fans' fault. But if we could all figure out collectively, you guys that race, us that work on the business end and promote this thing, and the racetrack owners, if we could all collectively put our heads together and figure out, hey, how do we get more people through this front gate? We could solve the entire issue of what's taking place and the struggles in dirt track racing right now. And it really, guys, it just comes down to expendable income. Money's tight. It doesn't matter what it is. I took my boy to get pizza here a little bit ago, and my ham and pineapple pizza cost me $20 at the gas station. I'm sorry. My ham and pineapple pizza should not cost me $20 from the
Right.
local gas station. It's crazy.
You
It's
I
get
crazy where it's
you get
at, and
20
it's
bucks in about
everything.
any meal nowadays too.
I
Yeah,
gotta say,
it's
we
just
oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Trenton. I'll say we went over and
you're you're good.
supported MTS last night for that World of Outlaws sprint car race, and I'll sit next to my brother. We were in the push truck pushing cars. I don't know what the total count was, but when I was sitting off in turn one in the grandstands, and that it was
Uh-huh.
full, and there's people in the booths. I hope they had upwards of 1,500 to 2,000 people there, and another 4 to 500 in the pits. I don't know what the final count was, but it was so relieving to see that after listening to Bob and Tyrone's conversation just a few weeks ago, to see that crowd support.
Sure,
I mean, hell, Jack,
sure.
we saw Sam Mars in the stands.
Yeah.
Dustin Sorensen was there watching.
Caden
Jake.
Blazer.
Hayden Blazer. There was
Yep.
drivers that weren't even
Just
from around
watching
here that
racing.
came
Yeah,
to watch that race. And I sat there and I paid my $50 pit pass and bought, $25 worth of food and beverage. I had close to $100 bill by the night it was over, but I enjoyed it. I sat with my brother. I sat in the push
sure.
truck with my dad. We pushed the
It's
cars. It was so much fun. I mean, watching those
yeah.
sprint
Yeah,
cars come. And to me, nothing against streaming or knocking it whatsoever, but to me, as a race fan, as a driver, there is nothing like an off night when you don't have to be the dog in the fight driving the car to just sit in the
sure.
stands and watch a good race. I mean, it was something
Yeah,
to watch the sprint cars from the infield to come down that front stretch and hear the engines hold down as that wing comes in on entry and plants those rear tires. I mean, you can't really get that necessarily on the TV, but I think to your point, Trent, it's gonna take people in the stands. We still need to support the streaming, but we also need to support the promoters because without the promoters, without those guys sticking their necks out week in and week out that are taking on that operating expense, taking
sure.
that risk, we don't have our streaming, we don't have our weekly races,
You're right.
we don't even have specials because it's just simply too expensive to put those shows on. So to your point,
Sure.
the average race fan, I know money's tight, but if you want to see it succeed, if you want to keep seeing these specials or hell, even weekly events, you got to put your ass in the seats and come and support your racetracks because
It
it
it it's the most important.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's the number one most important thing that can happen, and I don't know if the racers, the streamers, the whatever want to hear this, but if that promoter over the course of the season can't be made whole more times than he's not made whole, then that racetrack's not going to continue to exist. And so, like, the streamers can want what they want, the racers can want what they want, but that promoter's need has to be met first and foremost above everything else, or that racetrack's not going to continue to operate. And so, it's not going to matter what anybody wants to go run somewhere. Um, it's game over there, and you're moving on down the road somewhere else, and hope you've got somewhere else to go down the road that's maybe half as good as where you're at. It's really as simple as that. And I'll tell you guys, we pay a lot of money over the course of the year, and we pay it directly to promoters. I literally sit and I write them checks till I'm blue in the face, and I'm happy to do it because everybody that's in this, there's a price to pay to play. You guys do it with entry fees. We do it when we go live, and it's our contribution back to the sport. And the weird thing is like sometimes that stuff goes away and stuff doesn't really improve. And so it's kind of just a sign of where we're at right now. I'll tell you this, I don't think every weekly racetrack needs to be streamed. I really don't. I think we only work at, I think there's four racetracks, maybe five that we're at on a week to week basis. And I turn them down left and right, and I don't tell you that to, like, it's not like a daily thing, but I probably turn down more in a winter than we take. And it's just the weekly streaming, it doesn't get a ton of eyeballs, and there's not a ton of money in it. And so for us at the end of the day, trying to run this company, instead of me just getting questioned to death all the time, it's just easier to kind of methodically pick out those four or five that really gin pretty well, and forge a really strong relationship with them. So it's a very imperfect science. I think all bets are off when you're touring. If you want to be taken relevant as any sort of touring series, you better find your way onto TV somewhere. And the reality is it might just be 20 or 30 people watching, but you've at least got a point to build from with what you're trying to do, and with those additional sponsors that you're going after to help fund your series. You owe it to them to figure out how to make that work to get on TV. So there's kind of two sides to the whole thing, but at the very core, those racetrack promoters they have to have that need met more than it's not over the course of the season.
Now,
Trenton, I got a
Trenton,
question for you.
oh, go ahead, buddy.
Um, on nights, you mentioned like when there's a night like when Flo's streaming a Lucas Oil race, or Dirt Vision's got a World of Outlaws sprint car,
Yep.
late model race on, and Racindirt's putting on, let's say, a USMTS show. How much do you see a lot of your viewers go down? Like, do you see a lot of your viewership go down from the Racindirt when there's
No.
other? Does it matter on the week when there's certain series running versus if there's just a weekend where like Lucas Oil's off World of Outlaw but USMTS is on? Do you see a spike or decrease on those weekends?
So 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 we get USMTS spikes on like Thursday nights are usually better for us. They're a little bit better unless we're at one of our mega events, because there's always less competition on Thursday nights. Early is better than late, and the middle part of the season is the worst by and large for streaming. Um, I would love to race every weekend in February and March if we could, like mega events. Katie bar the door. I would have way more money that I could put into things in February and March.
Because no one's doing
It's
anything at
just
home.
No.
correct. I mean, that's the time to make hay in our world is February and March above everything else. Um, it's just man, I could go over stuff. It's just crazy how good February and March is for streaming. But like things like for us. And I've had these conversations with Todd, so I'll use this for an example. Unfortunately, the Masters got rained out this year, but that was going to set up a 2-week run for us. And we were going to go run that next week, and we picked it up and ran that next week. And we went and ran a Tuesday, a Wednesday, off a Thursday, ran a Friday, Saturday. So with our model of what we're doing, I don't necessarily need 10 races in 14 days. That's not my best case scenario. Although I don't ever turn it down. If you commit to doing a tour, you commit to the schedule to do it. But for us to be able to contribute even more, and to be honest, it's a lot of the reason why we went with some of these regional tours was to be totally transparent with you guys. We needed a little more say in the race schedule and when events happened. And that is a big time difference maker in all of this streaming. And so you're like, oh yeah, okay, what's the big deal? It doesn't matter. Well, it does matter because I can go then take and I can pay more money to those racetracks if the events are scheduled at the proper times.
So then,
So
when you guys, and obviously there's more people that go into this whole deal than you can probably name, but what's it take
sure.
to, like, with your 5 tracks that you would stream weekly races, what's it take to get however many people there you need and the equipment you need? Like, yeah, I guess what's that
Yep.
look like from
What
week
goes
to
into a
week?
night
Yep.
to night?
Yeah.
Sure. Dollar figures it's about 10 grand worth of equipment at every single one of those racetracks. Some we own, some stuff goes to them that we have that's out of service for us. Sometimes the
Not
racetracks
off of
buy it.
Craigslist.
No, not off.
No.
We don't have to buy off
Okay.
Craigslist anymore. Yeah. Hey, and luckily we just survived Craigslist. You know what I mean?
There we
Like that
go.
was that was the first victory. We survived it twice. So, hey, you do find some good use stuff on eBay every once in a while if there's something
Oh,
you're looking
I
for. We
for sure.
we yeah, we still hit that route every once in a while. It's always good to check eBay or Feebay as a lot of people call it. So, most of them are 1 to 2 people streams. They really have got like we've got kind of a weird case study out in Vado, and I don't mean weird. It's just different. Julian Herrera shoots out there for us, and he had shot out there for many years at Vado, and he's got a nice little crew assembled out there that helps him, and he works in lockstep with the track announcers and shoots and cuts cameras and does a terrific job, man. I don't know if you guys ever check out Vado stuff very much or their highlights, but I could go on and on about how much I love that racetrack and the quality of person that Royal Jones is for racing. Heck, guys, we're all indebted to Royal Jones if you love dirt track racing. So, but that one's kind of cool because they kind of got their own group assembled out there. Cedar Lake put their own group of people together. We don't have any of our Racindirt staff there. We coached them up on some equipment and talked through a little bit of production stuff with them. Um, some places we had some extra stuff, so every place is a little bit different, really. But there's no just one normal thing. But like if a racetrack comes to me out of the blue and they say, "Hey, I wanna put this on TV," my first thing I'm going to say is, "We've got a parts list. It's in a Google sheet. I need your email address. Everything's got a link to it. We're going to send it to you. It's going to be somewhere between 7,500 and 10 grand, depending on if you buy everything or not. And if you got to at least get close to everything here so we can get started."
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, most people probably don't understand that everything that goes into it just to stream an event. They just click their
sure,
TV on or like, oh, it's working or my internet's down. But it sounds like there's a lot of back end work to make that possible. And it's awesome. I love nothing more on a night when I can't be at a track, but I can get home at 7:30, 8 o'clock, flip on Flow, Racindirt, and watch like tomorrow night.
yep,
I'll watch that USMTS show, and it's like I just love that because I'm not able to go to that physically, but it's like I love the convenience of being able to just flip it on, watch it, and go to bed. And back to like what we were discussing earlier, it's like it's kind of a make or break it seems on some weeks with weekly shows where there's people that are doing
yep,
that could very well drive an hour or less to go support that track weekly, but they choose to stay home,
yes,
eat their own food, drink their own beer, flip it off, go to bed, where it's like, which leads me to my next question, Trenton. I can't remember if we touched on this at Webster City or not briefly, but the question and response I hear from people constantly is like, well, why can't they do a blackout, like a 50 mile or 100 mile
sure.
on that racetrack? What would it, is that a possibility of something you guys could do, or if I'm sure you've thought of it, or what's
Oh
the
yeah.
just so people that hear this podcast, can you kind of dive into that explanation of why that either
Can't
is or is
happen.
not possible, or why it doesn't happen?
For sure. So we lease our platform, and most everybody that streams leases a platform from one of about three or four major video providers that are across the country. So the short answer that I can tell you for us is they come out with a list of things that are on their roadmap, and that's not even on their roadmap of things that are feasible. Literally, if I emailed my rep, which they're in Europe, if I emailed them, they would laugh at us for that because it's just not a common thing. Second part of that, it's really not something that builds a sport. Let's talk about basketball, baseball, football. Baseball has the most restrictive programming. NFL has blackouts, although they pretty well sell about everything out anymore. But we've seen it with individual teams that tried to carry their media rights over the years. It's just not a feasible thing. And here's the next part. Guys, I could take anything that's blacked out on the internet, and I need about 3 minutes and about 20% motivation, and I'm bypassing the blackout. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. If I need to watch my team, I'm going to figure out how to watch my team. And so that stuff would happen to us too. Like that's the thing it's not a rocket science of how to figure out how to make that work. When we were back in the pay-per-view days, we did one race, and it was blacked out. We got the most hate mail that we ever got,
Wow.
um, and it was a lot. It was a lot for us to deal with, and we found out that people had scenarios, and there were people that couldn't go for medical reasons that were longtime supporters, and they were just inside of the bounds that were set, and there's no way to guarantee that it's accurate. And so the next thing that I'm not going to do is I'm not going to tell a promoter we can do it and then have whoever, John Doe, Jane Doe, call them Monday morning and say they watched inside their bounds, because at that point then I'm a no good you know what. And so it's just not a thing. I'm really good friends with Michael Rigsby. He's the vice president of Flow Racing. He's the founder of Dirt on Dirt. We're great friends. We talk about it all the time. And I guess maybe I'm towing the line of what most people would say, like, "Hey, we don't need a blackout." But for us, it's not feasible because our platform doesn't allow it. We literally we lease space off of a platform, and in turn, they handle the site, they handle the build, they handle the updates, they handle a chunk of the tech support, although we do some of it. but it's their infrastructure. So essentially, we're playing in their sandbox, and so it's not a thing that we have to offer.
I'm
So
glad you
then,
touched on that because most people probably don't understand that in depth on why you can or cannot do that. So I'm glad you touched on
Yeah.
that, Trent.
Yeah, and
and
it just takes a little bit of work on Google or Chat GPT, and you can honestly you can bypass anything.
Technology's
good to
wild.
know. You said so in the earlier Racindirt days, because I remember my dad and I like, signing in and paying whatever the amount was to watch this race and or this USMTS
It used
race
to be
and that
expensive. It used to be
Well, like
expensive.
50,
It's not anymore. It used to be.
49.99.
Yep.
Was it like
what
$50 to for the
Yep. For a
pay-per-views?
weekend.
That was my
Yep.
next question I was going to ask too.
yeah, because what made the how did that work for you guys? And then what made you transition into just the subscription? Now you can open up Racindirt and I can go find just about
Yeah.
anything.
I'll tell you, those days sucked, and that's part of the struggle and the journey, and I wouldn't trade it. It was how everybody operated, and we all thought that was the best way to go about it. And I'm telling you, we didn't stream a lot because we were going broke. And since that time, the model flipped, and who would have known? Like we introduced this in the summer of 2019, and we got really lucky that everything shifted. Now, we didn't get lucky with COVID. I'm not trying to make light of what happened, but we got lucky in the fact that when the entire world changed, we already had a platform in place and had been on it for 6 months. Um, we knew that was the route we were going to need to go, and because we were too cost prohibitive, and we didn't realize that at the time. Nobody realized that at the time, to be honest with you. And then slowly everybody started figuring it out. Like, hey, this is a better way to go here. And with that, we were able to legitimately build and grow a business, and in turn, we were able to really pay these racetracks. Like I'll be honest with you guys, we had some early nights where we would divvy up all the expenses. We would have the pay-per-views. We'd sell 20 to 40 pay-per-views on some of these things that we used to go do, and you might stroke that promoter check for 60, 70, 80, $120, $150. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Not
man,
worth it.
like this is not even worth it to go do, because you're making that same on the other end. If you were a good negotiator, you might make $200 if they made 150, but like more times than not, you were just splitting what was left at the end of the night. And was like, man, I don't know. We had some lean times right in there. Like this is not working out. And I don't know if this is going to continue to work or not. So for us going to subscription when we were kind of being told that, hey, we should take a look at this by some people in the industry, it was a no-brainer because at that point we had nothing to lose in the first place because it was either this works or we're going to get jobs doing something else.
Yep. No,
And
it's
the
just
reason the reason the reason those races were so expensive was because you were selling individual nights, and that was what the basically the promoters demanded, and for all intents and purposes. And so it's still a little bit of a struggle, and I have this conversation with promoters now because it's not. You guys might be surprised to hear this, maybe not. It's not so much that and every promoter is a little bit different. So I don't want to categorize every one of them that I work with in the same breath. But for a lot of these promoters, it's not that they maximize their streaming money. It's that they get every dollar down to the cent that's owed to them. I don't know. I don't know. Does that make sense? What I'm telling you? I can expand on that a little bit if you want me to, but they're not so much concerned about, because for me it's a no brainer. I look at what's here. We value races. I have 15 years worth of spreadsheets we look at. I can pretty well tell you about what a race is worth with a little bit of work. Sometimes we miss. Sometimes we have to take more calculated risks on new events, but by and large, I have something probably close to compare it to get us close. But I would rather just go like I can tell you like for Mississippi Thunder when we're dealing with things, we need max revenue, like whatever the max revenue is that's gonna come in off that. Like when the World of Outlaws late model series came in there, we didn't sit there nickel and dime on death. You negotiated a rights fee, and you negotiated a really good rights fee, and moved on down the line. It didn't matter. Like I didn't need the World of Outlaws to sell pay per view so that I knew that I got $373.42, exactly half of the profit that was there. I needed a rate that was going to meet or exceed what we all collectively had in our heads that value of that event was worth based on streaming data. And at that point, the streamer wins and the racetrack wins. And
Sure.
I'm telling you guys, even in 2025, streaming has basically been around now, 14, 15 years, something like that. And it was awfully primitive in the beginning and not near the frequency that it is now. But you would still be amazed at the promoters that don't necessarily want the most money. They just want to know that they're getting every cent that's owed to them without question, broken down
Sure.
in a spreadsheet.
Sure.
So to me, that's crazy. Like that's not. I'll just be honest with you. Like that's not growing a business. Like there's no way. Like my wife and I do some other stuff outside of coffee shops, and I talk to a lot of people that are in business, and it's just like figuring out how to take the same product and get less but feel better about it is no way to business success.
Yeah.
So,
Makes sense.
but we deal with it, and I still kick that can down the road from time to time. So,
I got a question for you, Trenton. I had someone text me, a good buddy of mine that's a
mhm.
race fan, and I told him we were having you on the podcast this week, and he said something about allowing up to four devices. I'm reading this text right now. Up to four devices to be logged in. He said, I've got 4 to 5 people using my account to watch that can't be there. So even if they go down to 2 devices and say 30% of those people get their own accounts, then bump up their subscription fee to $300 annually, would that double their income? Then and would that allow you to help racetracks if they could dish it back to them? What's your response to, I guess, something like that?
yeah, so this is a pitfall of leasing a platform, and it's something we have no control over. So it just is what there's. That's one of the things like you can wish and hope, and we gripe and complain about it nonstop. So sometimes it happens. There's no there. I don't have a solution with where we're at. We are with the largest video streaming provider that exists in the world, and we lease with them, and we have essentially no tech issues. Like any company, they're not perfect, but they're pretty darn good. So I don't, they get the racetracks get very fairly compensated for what we have in the events and what they get paid. I'm telling you, it's a lot. It's they get paid so much right now that when we're making cuts to things that we're doing, like we are sweating bullets over the amount of money that some of these places are getting paid. So the ones like there's a couple out there, I'll be honest, that control their own streaming and don't pay. And um, if they're able to go negotiate that, I guess okay for them. And if that promoter takes a show at that point, it's on them. They can do what they want. But short of one night where we were pay per view and we had a stream drop at Granite City, Illinois, in the A main and had to issue more refunds back, and the expenses outweighed the cost, I have written a check for every event that we have ever streamed as a company in the history of Racindirt. We have
Wow.
we have paid. So I had one night we had an absolute disaster, and it was a net negative for us. And at that point, you don't go to the racetrack and go, "Hey, I need $200 because we were here to stream your race." Like that's on you if it all goes down the drain on the night. But
Sure.
yeah, it's there, and it's just kind of what it is.
Yeah.
So
There's still a
No.
lot of positives though, because for example, we have my uncle, he lives out in Colorado Springs, can't make it to, hardly any races throughout the year.
mm,
He lives, 1,000+ miles away, watches every single weekend that he can watch us race on Race and Dirt. And he's like
that's awesome.
extremely grateful for the platform because he's like, I can't be there, but he literally will text us throughout the whole night
In
race.
between
Like,
the
oh,
heat
great.
race.
Between the heat
Yeah.
race and feature, like, oh, I saw you moved up and I
It's
saw
cool.
this. He follows it. So there's a lot of good to come from the streaming too. Like I said, I know there's some negatives we touched on, but there's also a lot of positive.
Sure.
Talk about sponsorship, promotership. getting your name out there to people who don't know who you are. Like, I mean, there's people down south that I watch that I wouldn't know them in the pits, but I know their name, I know their car, and I like watching them. And it's
That's
there's a lot
cool.
of positives to it as well, whether that's
Yeah,
Racindirt, Flow, Dirt Vision. There's a lot of cool stuff involved when it comes to the streaming.
and it's we've worked hard to work on our content. For years it was survival, and it was so much just obsessing about, are we going to lose our server connection with the stream? And it happened, guys, and it would come out of nowhere. And we had some janky equipment. Now we had the stuff that was as good as what was available, but when the first time we were introduced to better equipment, we bought it, and then we kept buying, and we replaced every single thing that we had, and we've replaced everything about 2 or 3 times over at this point from when we started. And unlike your guys' race cars, we have no resale in the tech world. It sucks. So you just write it off and scream and move on. So we really do work on the content hard, and that's a lot of what Rink does. It's a lot of what I work on too. Um, I started doing those pre and post race videos just because I felt like, we ask we ask a lot of these subscribers that want to interact with this content. I just wanted to put something out there with no strings attached, like just something free. Like, hey, let's get to know a driver today. Let's talk a little bit about racing, but find out something else that they're interested in. Sometimes I go with like sometimes I play the hits and we go with the biggest guys in the pits, and sometimes I try to go find that guy that's got a cool story or somebody doesn't know about. Maybe it's not a guy I can sit and do 20 minutes with on a Facebook Live, but maybe it's something we do for a pre-race. We met a really cool guy, Hank Brown, a couple weeks ago. He's a storm chaser for one of the local news stations down in Oklahoma, and we just put that free on our website. I did a pre-race interview with him. He was really cool, a great guy. It was only his third race of the year. He was racing a B mod at Creek County. Now that dude's lived some life, and he could communicate it, and that was cool. And that's the stuff I really enjoy. Um, coming in on this operations side of things, I've been screamed at and called everything under the sun by racers, and um, I don't have favorites. I don't have an agenda. I have a very clearly defined rule book that we go from that we just adhere to. I don't think we pick on people, but we do have procedures and policies and things that are in place. And I'm just trying to chalk some of that up to maybe everybody's just trying to figure out how far they can push, But I'll tell you, it'll wear on a guy. But I've figured out how to kind of take the good with the bad. I really enjoy the aspect of streaming now because we have a really good crew. I didn't enjoy it when we first started. It was too much, and it was too unreliable. It was too inconsistent. I don't want to say it was unreliable. It was too inconsistent. Not whether it was going to work or not, but whether it was going to be good or not. And I really had a problem with that as we were trying to figure it all out. But I've really kind of in turn fallen back in love with racing again and the competition side of it. And now what I focus on is trying to figure out how to deliver profits to these racetracks and to these promoters. Whether it's tied with the USMTS and USRA and everything he does, or it's whatever racetrack we go to. Now Thursday and Saturday are lease shows this weekend, so I'm working with Todd on those. But Friday night, that's a brand new racetrack. It's a place we've never been before. We got some work to do. Like, we're gonna have to get some stuff out about this racetrack. Like, they're paying really good money to bring this USMTS, and it's a 5,000 win race Friday night at a place that's never had one before in the middle of August. Now, if you're telling me those people don't want to show because this is a hard time of the year to make a place work, so they really wanted their chance to get in. Like, we got a lot of work to do Friday night to deliver a good product and showcase that racetrack to make some people not only know about it, but figure out that the next time when we're there, how to get them there. And so, that's stuff that I really enjoy right now. Kind of bigger picture, thinking ahead. I got some other stuff we're working on down the road too. My head never stops. I like to do cool things. I'm never going to be. I can tell you guys this: I'm never going to be that promoter. I'm never going to lead the pack and paid. It's never going to happen. We are not going to be that guy. But our objective is to be not only with streaming but with the race promotion, as absolutely rock solid as humanly possible. Where we're not just here today, but we're going to come back and be there tomorrow too.
Absolutely.
Trenton, one thing I think you do that's really cool is those pre-race videos. The infield shooting is
Yep.
really nice too. When you're in the infield and you're talking about what's going on through the race, or if someone's charging through the field and there's a restart and or someone gets a flat and you come in, you're really good at reporting all that stuff. What's going on? One thing I think that would be cool throughout the night as a race fan and someone that maybe doesn't have a full understanding is like if time allows throughout the race when cars on the track, give them kind of a feel of what you're seeing, the changing track conditions throughout the night from like qualifying
Sure.
heat race to the feature and how the track's changing. Another thing I think would be cool too is there's times with the cameras is zoomed in on the scale when they're doing like Tech and Darlow's, weighing a car or
Oh
checking
yeah.
something. It would be neat to
Yep.
get Darlow on the camera for a split second, say, "Hey, what are you seeing after these heat races? What are you checking?" Just to give that race fan that engagement to what they're actually checking, because like, oh, what is a deck height or what's right front frame height or checking brake bias. It'd just be cool to get a 30-second clip with Darlow on the camera. Hey, what are you guys checking tonight? What are you seeing? I think that would be super engaging for the race fan on TV.
So I'll do that. I like that. I had never really thought of that. Now,
Yeah.
I didn't go to the Webster City race, but they had a little bit of deck issue after the Webster City USMTS race back in April,
Yep.
and they got Darlow. Pat was working the infield for us that night, and they did get Darlow at the end of the night. But I hadn't. That's weird, dude. I had never really thought about doing that
Yeah.
like after like a heat race or time. It could be after time trials too. I'm going to work on that. So they're going to have they're it's going to have to be one of the nights that Darlow's in the infield. But
Yep.
they tech in the infield a decent amount. I'm thinking about the places right now where we could go do that. I like that.
Yeah.
I
Webster
try to
City's
touch on the
great. Yeah.
racetrack. Webster City would be one. I try to touch on the racetrack as it changes a little bit. Guys, I'm going to be totally honest with you. There are sometimes like having not sat in that race car, I don't know that I'm always the best. I try not to. If you notice with me, I'm not going to dig too much on tech. I'm not, I'm not going to be something that I'm not.
Sure.
Um, but I like to ask questions. I like to find things out, but I'm not going to leave myself where you guys are going. Not you guys, but anybody that's watching where the viewer goes, oh, well,
What
he's
an
an idiot.
idiot.
I give them enough times when I'm just being like screwing around that I'm enough of an idiot. I don't need to lose them on something racing related. I don't know that I always am the best person to read the racetrack beyond hey, muddy, not muddy. Like I'm not the guy. If you come to me like, hey, where do I need to go run for this heat race? Like I'm not going to be the guy to tell you what line you probably should run. I could just tell you like, hey, the guy that won that last heat race, he was up top. But
Yeah.
like sometimes it changes, and you guys know that, and I'm sure that's what you're wanting to key in on is like how quick the track changes and when it changes. I would say that probably the nights when Pat's in the infield doing some stuff with us, or that he's in the booth and has a good view of the whole racetrack up top, he's probably going to be that better guy. But I'll tell you, I can I can handle talking to Darlow. I'm gonna figure that one out. I'm gonna make you proud before the end of the year somewhere.
Perfect.
I had to
That's
give him
Yeah,
awesome.
hell
I
last
like
week
that.
at I had to give him hell last week at Fairmount. We were rolling up to get our pit passes, and he had his truck and trailer with foiler on the back. And I yelled at him. I said, "Darlow," I said, "your deck height's too high and your right front's up." I said, "I'll let you pass this time, but you're gonna have to get it fixed before I see you next year. It's gonna be a Dairy Queen." He just laughed. He's like, "I'm gonna get you later for that." He's
Oh,
just,
that's
I
wonderful.
I like Darlow.
That's
I think
wonderful.
he's consistent. I don't think he
He's
has.
He is.
I don't
consistent.
think he has favorites. I know people are
He doesn't.
bitch and scream at him about calls, but you know what? It's like he's got a rule book and he follows it, and I think he's fair. But I do think on those races like Webster City is a perfect example where you got the scale house in the center and you can get the camera
Yep.
zoomed in on him. It would be
Yep.
cool to just do a quick upfront. Hey, what are you checking after this heat race? What are you seeing? I think that would be super engaging for the fans. I also love the front stretch interviews after the heat races. I
Absolutely.
think that is a must. I think that is so cool to see someone go out and rip their car for 8 to 10 laps, and then you pull them in when they're fired up. How is the heat? How is the track? What changes do you got to make for the feature? I mean, that's
Yeah.
super engaging as a race fan and a driver to just hear that feedback at a track that
I
you've never been. I think that's super cool. So I hope you guys continue to do that.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I enjoy that aspect of it. And I will tell you, so you're going to figure 50 shows a year, we do that, four to six heat races a night. It's impossible to come up with that many questions
Right.
after a heat race. So I really try to watch and figure out. I had a really smart guy tell me one time in racing, when I was asking him about how to interview. Like, I didn't know how to interview. That was kind of a trait that I had to really work on, to figure out how to ask good questions. And you try to ask something that's leading. You try not to make statements. I do make statements a few times, and I try not to use catchphrases and buzzwords. Like, I really put a lot of thought into my delivery, but it sometimes gets hard. Like, if the racetrack one night, you can see that it's going to be single file through the heat races, which sometimes it is. About the time you get to that third and fourth heat race, I don't know what to ask the guy when everybody just went out there and held them. They just went and qualified for 8 laps again. Like, hey, how's the weather, Jim? So,
Yeah. What color's
but
your
I
underwear? Do you got a special set you
yeah,
wear on race day? You got a favorite? Like what
yeah, yeah. Hey, when's the last time the lady gave you some grief? Like,
Yeah.
hey, did you take the trash out the other day? But
Yeah.
I try to just add something to the show. Some of those are better than others, but I do put effort in it, just like everything. I try not to fly off the cuff, but sometimes in the infield you got to be ready for anything, And I guess my biggest thing I work on is I just try not to be boring. And I will tell you this: I appreciate you as a racer saying that about Darlone, because I get to know and see a different Darlone and Laura than the majority of the pits, and he is stern and he is firm, and that's why our rules aren't out of control, and that's why we have cars that pretty much for the most part they look a lot alike. Um, and that's why you see speeds most nights are very comparable from top to bottom. Obviously, everybody knows the heavy hitters at any given track on any night, but like, he doesn't let things run wild out of control, and he works hard to keep the rule book in check. And he is bullheaded about that right front and keeping. But I'm telling you guys that he keeps so much in check with that race car, because he will not rest on that right. Like, that right front is going to be correct, or you're out. And I applaud him for that, and the work that he goes into doing that. And it doesn't make it easy for you guys, but for him, that particular spot keeps the integrity of these cars, and keeps them under control. And he's tough, and he doesn't have favorites. I guarantee he doesn't have favorites. Now, he's got some wild stories. The one thing I will say, Darlo, he does like to talk. Darlo and I've had many long conversations. I have a lot of respect for him. He has been very good. So in our Heartland series, we have a great new young tech man, kid by the name of Chris Albright. I shouldn't say kid; he's a guy. Very well respected, very analytical. Is doing a great job, and he and Darlo have talked a lot. Darlo builds tech tools as well, and he sells those to the groups and organizations, so everybody can be on the same page. He sells them to the chassis builders too. So, it's not like there's no backdoor dealings. There's no secrets with Darlo. He's very upfront. He takes people's phone calls. He's thorough. Now, when he's had enough, he's done. And at some point, you're just like, yes, we're not going anywhere here, so we're just going to have to move on. But I do very much respect he and Laura for what they do, and I appreciate you guys taking a minute to talk about that, because the end of the day, he's in an impossible situation, and he handles that with grace most of the time.
And I think a lot of it, honestly, is, and I'm not knocking other racetracks, but I think some racetracks are a lot more lax on the rules. And then I think
Yep.
when Darlow shows up and he is, by the book, I just think it um just makes it so much bigger because people aren't used to being tech that hard. And I think, that's not necessarily Darlow's fault. And like I said, I'm not trying to knock these local tech guys because they're doing a tough job and they're trying their best to keep everyone in check. But I just think when Darlow shows up, it kind of, I don't know what the word would be, but it definitely gives
There's
Forces
it
you to make sure you're
there's no
right.
leeway. It's
there's
just
no
black
leeway,
and white.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Right.
just
There's no
black and
Yep.
leeway,
white.
right?
It's like,
Yes.
Yeah,
But
and
for
that's how it
sure.
should be. It's like we have to have a deck height. You have to have frame height. You can't have sail panels that are the size of a sailboat. It's like there's stuff that he's just very firm on that's been in the rule book, and it's like And a lot of times, honestly, he's been very fair to us. Like if he sees something on a car, like, hey, your sail panel's an inch too high, it comes off your roof and then it dips up, trim that down. He like I don't know how many warnings he's got, and
Yeah.
then he'll come over and he's been incredibly fair to us about stuff.
Uh,
And I honestly appreciate that as a racer because there's nothing more that sucks than when you have a good run and there's something that wasn't brought to your attention that was, maybe outside the rule book, whether it was a body dimension
Sure.
or might, and you go, you just went sixth to second or fourth to first in your heat. You should be in the redraw, and now you're tail end
Sure.
Charlie in a B main because of something that you overlooked. So I think he's back to being fair. I think he does give his fair share of warnings. I don't think a lot of people will come out and openly admit that,
He's
but
got the book. He's got the book, and he'll
he
flip through
does.
the pages.
Oh
He
yeah.
carries it in his back
Exactly.
pocket.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. We had a deal the other night, and he was teching shocks on the rear end shocks, and so they came off the top three, four, five, either top three or top five cars. I don't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, so that shock has to come off, and that shock has to bottom out because what he's checking for is make sure there's not a bump stop inside that
Mhm.
shock. And everybody's shock except one went all the way. Like it was an easy deal. Take it, push it down, compress that all the way. Okay, you're good. We had one that didn't. He goes, "There's no bump stop in here. I don't know. There's nothing." And at that point, Darlow could have said, "Hey, it's 100 degrees. It's 11 o'clock at night. I got a 2 hour drive home." He could have said, "You're cooked," and would have been within his rights to do so. And instead, he said, "Nope." He said, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take it." They took it to one of the other racers' trailers that worked on shocks. They took it. They pulled the shock apart. They confirmed that actually some stuff was broken inside of the shock. Actually, probably saved him for the next week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks down the road, whenever that thing spit the bit. And instead, by his tech, figured out A, he was legal, and B, he had something that needed his attention that could have
Yeah.
easily been overlooked and not taken off the car before the next week. So, you know, for everybody that wants to sit and gripe that he does this or that, I just want to convey, and you know what? There's sometimes he's had enough, and there's some nights at racers just black and white cheat, and it's in the rule book, and you deserve what you're going to get. Like if we're just being honest, that's that tale as old as time. But I will tell you on the stuff that's could be, couldn't be. He's going to lean to give the racer the benefit of the doubt, and I think that's about all you can ask in a tech guy.
Right. Yep.
Absolutely.
But kind of switching lanes, Trenton here. Just as far as going back to the streaming deal,
Yep.
what's the future for streaming? I mean, how do you keep this ball rolling so
Man,
streaming and racing is here 10 years from now, 20 years from now? What's the evolution of streaming? How do you keep
it's a
evolutionizing?
that's a great question, man. That's probably the number one thing that I think about and figure out what do we do, because like it's the thing now, but it's not there will be something else that'll come along. There's going to be a new thing. Um, so man, we're going to have to just stay at it. You're going to have to keep incorporating technology. The technology that we put into this, probably similar to your guys' race cars. Like it continually evolves. So for one, it changes quick, and you better stay up with the times if you're going to keep yourself relevant. Man, as far as other things, we're going to have to figure out how to keep eyeballs on it, and like Racindirt's not done a very good job of that this year. If you want me to be totally honest with you, we're down on that revenue because for whatever reason we haven't been able to retain those eyeballs that are necessary. So it's going to have to not only be content, but content that people care about. So that becomes a collaborative effort. So that's going to help keep streaming good. Streaming's good. You're going to be able to pay these racetracks. One of the big things we all have to figure out, if we can get more people. I've thought this for a long time, and now I have the data to back it up. People either care about the race or they don't. Like they either care to go or they don't care. You can make small incremental gains. Like you can take and you can build events and you can add things around it, and things can go from like it's maybe here one day, but with a 5 year plan, it can be something and morph into this monster thing. Like the Gateway Dirt Nationals. It's tough. That's such a hard one, but like it's an event that is on the rise, and it's just that thing's headed to the moon right now. Where so much of racing struggles, we're going to pile in that dome up in St. Louis in December, and it's going to be the biggest party you have ever seen at a dirt race. I have no doubt. The things that he has done and the decisions that have been made. And when the fields all get announced that are going to be there, it's going to be the wildest thing on four wheels. And it's something you can't miss. Now, you can't put lightning in a bottle 300 times a year. It's not possible to do that. So, man, that question is what I lose sleep about, is how do we keep this good? And for us, it's how do we get back to where we were? Um, and that's kind of what I'm struggling with right now. Is I don't know. I don't know that I can. I don't know if I can add 30 to 40 modified races and pick that back up. My suspicion is I can't. Um, man, that's if you could figure that one out.
I'll let you know. But like I look
Yeah,
at
I would appreciate it.
I know, like Lucas Oil, for example, I think it was,
Yep.
they've had a few races. They're not live streamed. They're restreamed on like a Sunday, and they're on national television. I don't know if you've seen
Oh yeah,
that.
on Racer that bought
Yeah.
Mav TV.
How
Yes,
do you how do we get more of that? That's that I guess that's how do we get, you talk about getting it out to more eyes.
sure,
Ultimately everyone's got a television. Everyone can flip that channel on their TV remote, and all of a sudden, I do it all the time. I'm scrolling through TV and I see a baseball game that I haven't watched baseball in 10 years, and I might sit and watch 10 minutes of a baseball
sure.
game. How do we get dirt track racing to be there eventually someday? Is that
I
a
will
real
tell you,
possibility?
I don't know that this could ever happen, but I feel like we're not in the too distant future that Gateway is going to be on some cable network. Like I just feel like it's probably going to be simulcast at some point. When that deal made Sports Center's top 10 last year, I was just kind of like, oh,
Wow.
okay, this is a little bit different now. I have no inside information. I don't know, but just like if you're wanting me to look into a crystal ball, what's that one thing that's going to do that? I could see that. I could see the Chili Bowl and Gateway as a package deal, that maybe that final night, maybe a prelim night, maybe the Chili Bowl's had different things over the years, but I think those events can go. The Lucas Oil Series was always on Mav TV, so that Racer Network used to be Mav, and so Racer, that group that owns that Racer magazine, bought the TV channel from Lucas Oil Products. So I don't know if that contract was an existing one that carried over. I don't know if that was part of the terms of the sale. I really don't know. I'm certain that Flo's producing that content package for TV and ready to go. We had a few seasons ago, 20 oh, it would have been 20, like 15 and 16, maybe 17. We had 5 or 6 USMTS races on MAV TV, that were produced. This is post Dirt Nights stuff. This wasn't a reality show. This was just select USMTS events through the summer. I think there were 5 or 6 that we were a part of helping put on TV. The Wasota 100 had been on Speed Sport on MAV TV as well. Man, one of the hard parts, just being totally honest, length of shows do not suit live television linear programming. It's best suited for streaming because the time commitments and the tight windows that you have to operate in. You saw it, like they put the Kings Royal on FS1, the one, or not the Kings Royal, but the high limit night, whatever they called that thing. But it was part of that Kings Royal weekend. They put that show on there, but they picked it up mid show and they gave it a 2 hour. I think it was a 2 hour window they gave it. So our program by and large doesn't, the way that we're structured doesn't lend ourselves towards live television. In that sense, package content, just somebody's got to be interested and want it. Really, about anything can get put on TV. It's just money.
True.
So um, it definitely could happen in a prepackaged form for sure, and it has in the past.
Um, we talked about we mentioned Gateway quite a bit. How did you get hooked up with Gateway and the guys at Flow? And obviously, like last year, I saw you and you must have been taking a breather in the booth, but you guys are like moving around all the time, getting people on camera.
Yeah,
What's that weekend like, and how
yeah,
did you get hooked up with that?
it's awesome. So I was in March of 2016. I was sitting right outside the gate waiting for them to unlock Heart of Texas Speedway right outside of Waco. We had a 2-day, 3-day USMTS show there. I don't remember. Anyway, first night, phone rang. It was Rigsby. He said, "Hey, I need you to keep something under your hat." And so I've had a few of these with him over the years, and I'm always like, "Oh, this will be good." We usually text, so when I got the phone call, I'm like, I better be sure to answer this. So he goes, there's something pretty wild getting ready to happen. He goes, they're going to race dirt late models indoors like they did at the Silver Dome. And I'm freaking out at this point. And they're going to do it in St. Louis. It's going to be in December. I don't know everything yet. And this was pre-flow. This was still dirt on dirt. And he said, I want you to be part of that broadcast. I don't know exactly how it's going to work. He said, I know we're going to have Ben and Dustin in the booth, but he said, I want you with a mic. He's like, I don't know if it's inside, outside pits, whatever. He's like, we'll have to figure all of that stuff out. But he said, can I at least get your commitment? Do you want to be a part of it? And I mean, I was just like ready to jump, jump through the
Yeah.
roof of the truck. Cause I just like, man, those are just like never opportunities that come available. And, I'm so appreciative that he asked me all those years ago to do that, and to just see what that event has morphed into is just wild. It's wild. They kind of told me to roam the pits and the concourse, and that first year it was just a lot of trial by fire. Like, hey, they're going to have some air brakes for air quality. There's going to be some brakes moving cars in and out. There's going to be some presentations and things. There's going to be a lot of dead time. And they said, we need you to help figure out how to fill some of this dead time.
Fences going
And
down.
so, yeah, so I just went. And what the crazy part about it is there's so many just like dignitaries and people in racing that aren't there to specifically race, but that are involved in the industry somehow, that it's just a thrill to find those people. All those guys have a story to tell, whether it's a promoter coming up, a racer that's on the rise, that's had a great season. If it's somebody that loves racing, you know, shoot, we get a few celebrities and people around in there now too. It's crazy what it's evolved into, and I'm telling you, they're gonna blow the top off the dome this year with the changes and improvements that Cody's already made going forward. There was a lot of uncertainty there 2 winters ago because they were going into their last year and that contract hadn't been
Mhm.
extended. And I'm telling you guys, he goes in there and he fights for dirt racers and he fights for our sport, to keep that thing going. And there was a lot of uncertainty, and it was kind of like gloomy, But you're not trying to portray that image, but like, man, we can't lose this. Like, this is too big for the sport. And when he came out with the new contract signed and the additional agreement and made the guarantees for the future of the race, it was just like, dude, that's the best Christmas present you could ask for.
Yeah, I
So,
bet.
it's been a crazy thing. I don't take any of it for granted. I study my butt off for that thing. There's no way I'm going to be able to know something about every racer in that pit area, but I try. And I try to go find some people that maybe not everybody knows about. One of the cool things with that race that I didn't know was, there's going to be a few guys that maybe aren't household names, and some of those guys have some pretty neat stories to tell too. So I can't always get to everybody, and I've probably been tapped on the shoulder 1,000 times in there and not been able to do the interview at the time. But it's not because I don't want to. I have a finite amount of time, and I have to get stuff in and out in 30 seconds to 2 minutes most of the time. It's kind of my window to work within, and so I don't have time for everything, but I try my best, and I try to put the best stuff out there that we can with it. I love those guys at Flow and the guys that were at Dirt on Dirt before. They've been great friends of ours for many years, and would do anything to help them. Rigsby called and asked me to help that Wild West shootout when it went to Vado, and it was a no brainer, when he asked, I just got a very few weekends off right there in the winter. But like, it's one of the things, again, when they call and ask, you better be ready to go, because those chances don't come around very often. And we saw some wild stuff happen out there at the Wild West shootout in Vado, and I'm grateful for that opportunity as well.
Sure.
Now, talking about, obviously you spend a lot of time on the road, Trenton. You're gone. I mean,
Oh yeah,
every weekend. What's just,
more than I care to admit.
yeah, what's the support system like at home as far as your wife and your kid? That's
Yeah,
just got to be, your wife's just got to be on board for all of that.
she is. So she went to the races with me, when we were kids, and she kind of grew up in it with me. So first off, I mean, we were dating since I was a freshman in high school. So,
Hey.
we had our dates to the racetrack. I will tell you, when they tell you as a kid growing up that you should love your parents and listen to them and they're always right, I'm going to tell you at one point my old man was dead wrong. So we used to go watch the like the MLRA and the Mars series. Those were the two predominant late model series. We World of Outlaws didn't really come around at that time. Lucas Oil wasn't a thing. It was still the would have been still the Stack or two and have a Tampa at that time nationally. And the World of Outlaws had not jumped back into existence again. I don't think that happened until 2004. So I'm talking like 2002, three, right in there. And so I had a curfew, and my curfew is 11:30. And I'm telling you guys, that sucks when you're trying to go to the races. And I was going into my senior year of high school, and we had an MLRA race at Wheatland Raceway before Lucas Oil bought it and revamped it. And I had paid $15. There was a $15 special event ticket. Now, mind you, I was working a summer job at that time, and I was making about $115 a week. I was mowing and weed eating for a farmer, and in between helping my dad put up hay at our house. So I was making about 115 bucks a week on a good week. So man, I was ready for Saturday night. And they had an MLRA race over there, and of course, track was not where they wanted it to be. Show wasn't rolling good, and I'm sitting here like I'm looking at my phone. I had obviously not the phones that we have now, but I did have a primitive cell phone at the time, and I'm looking at it and I'm sweating bullets because I know it's going to take me 35 minutes to get home. And they didn't get that race on the track, and I had bought those tickets, and I had to leave before that A main. And I'm telling you, I woke up that next morning and told my old man, and he said, "Well, he said your time's coming. You can make your own decisions here in about a year, but until then, you'll be home at 11:30." And so I had bought my wife, girlfriend at the time, tickets to the race. We went to the race. We didn't get to watch the A main. There was no video of it, of course. Like that wasn't a thing that existed. So I don't even know who won the race. Anyway, but so that was a funny part of growing up with my wife. She's unbelievable. We've been married. We got married in June of 2008, and it's been wonderful. She's been right beside me. She's actually going to go help Todd sell tickets tomorrow night at Butler at Electric City. So she's done a lot of different things. There was a period of time she was the event coordinator at Lucas Oil Speedway. She worked full time there for a while. She's done a lot of different stuff and in and out of racing. We got a little coffee shop and a cafe now, and that's she has a passion for cooking. So if anybody ever thinks I need to drop 20 or 100, it's because of her, and it's true. And the struggle's real. She's an out of this world cook. She's a great mother to my boy. He's coming around on racing. He's way into technology and video games right now. I would say he likes the prospect of going to the races. He's not consumed with it, but he's 9, so he's still got some time. But yeah, I love him to pieces, and it's man, it's just what we do. I've talked to Todd a lot about it over the years. Like it's what he did, and it's what he grew up with having Ryan and Logan with him on the road, going up and down the road. And it's the business that they were in, and everybody has to be committed to it if you're going to make it work. So she's wonderful, and our employees at Racindirt, man, I can't say enough good about them. I feel like they're members of our family, and we work hard to take care of them and treat them right and do fun things outside of work. And it takes a special person that's going to give you 30 to 35 weekends a year. You got 52 of them, several of them are holidays, and we're going to take a lot of the rest of them. And that's a special person to give up that amount of time and to put those miles on the road. It's not the part of this job that's hard is not the race day. Like that's just like it's a wash, rinse, repeat. Like you have a pretty good idea what the expectations for the day are. But I'm telling you guys, what sucks is waking up in that hotel room on a Sunday morning at 7:30 after you got in at 2, and you've got a 9.5-hour drive to get home, and you're leaving the next day on Wednesday. Like that's the stuff
people don't see.
Yeah. And that takes a commitment. I have drank Holiday Inn Dry of Continental Breakfast coffee at this point in my life, way more than I care to admit. So if there's one thing that you're just like, man, could could this be just a little bit better, a little bit easier? If there was a way to figure out if I could, if I don't even mind so much the leaving to go to the races, and it's probably just the anticipation for the event. But if I could take Sundays back, I've given way more than my fair share of Sundays, like everybody has that travels like that.
And you don't get to sit at home and watch the Chiefs then.
No, but we don't miss many. So I watch a few of them on. We listen to a lot of them. You know, honestly, when my man Art Haynes was doing their pre and post game and their halftime, it was my preferred way. At least the downtimes when the Chiefs weren't on the field was to listen to him. So that's going to be a little different this year. But man, I don't miss too many. If I'm home, I watch them live every Sunday. I try to go to a game or two a year. I haven't been the last couple of years, but I try to go to a game a year if I can. And yeah, it's God, what a terrible Super Bowl. We got to get this season going.
Yeah, what's that been like? I mean, I'm guessing you're a lifetime Chiefs fan.
Yeah,
You guys
lifetime.
weren't always this dynasty. Like,
No,
I
we're
mean,
terrible.
what's
We're
what's this
terrible.
what's this last 7, 8 year stretch been like being a Chiefs fan?
It's just like it's not even real. And
We
I
have
don't.
no clue what that feels like, so
No.
that's why we're
So I
wondering.
man, so I don't say that to brag or boast. It's it's been more than I could have ever expected. I mean, that was my team for birth. Like I was Joe Montana when I was in second grade for Halloween. Like I've still got, my mom still has the pictures, you know, like, and we had some lean years. You know, the Chiefs had like 17 years they didn't win a playoff game when I was growing up,
Dang.
and all through school, and they just, you know, you honestly you just feel like that they're cursed, and uh, they drafted when they moved up the draft that night. I still remember where I was at. I wasn't expecting them fully to take a quarterback in that draft, but they made that trade with the Bills and they drafted up to pick Mahomes that night. You know, a lot of people were thinking Deshaun Watson was probably the best quarterback in that draft, and clearly the Chiefs drafted the right one. But man, coming out of college, you couldn't argue with what Watson had done, and so dude, it's been unbelievable. I I've told my wife, you know, so Patrick's turning 30 this year. He's probably going to roll another decade, but this decade's not going to be as good as the 9 years that he's just put in. It's just not. It's probably going to be a more calculated and mature decade for sure, but it's not going to be the fun, like the fun, the most of the fun's in the rear view here, and we're just going to be grateful for what's left. And uh, I mean, it's for me, it's the pinnacle. It's going to be hard for me to watch when, like, I've already thought about when the day comes when Patrick retires. Like, I don't care who the next quarterback is. He's not going to be Patrick Mahomes. And, you know, so that's been cool. And dude, I get it. I get the Chiefs fatigue because I was that way with the Patriots. I understand it. The last thing I'm not going to be a boastful bragging winner because everybody hates that. I will tell you, I think that the Vikings are a wonderful franchise. And I think when you look at the players' grades, the Vikings are one of the top two or three franchises in the NFL. And the Chiefs don't even grade out even close. They're not even close to that. I mean, there's things that the Chiefs are hated on that their ownership will not do. And you all have one of the best owners. I'm telling you, one of the coolest experiences of my life. I love going to ball games. I love basketball, baseball, and football. Very deeply involved in it my whole life, and from a media standpoint too, especially when I was working in radio. Uh, I was in U.S. Bank Stadium for Adrian Peterson's return game on Monday night when he was with the Saints, and Randy Moss blew the big horn up in
Yeah.
the end zone, and U.S. Bank went nuts. And I'm telling you, we were doing it. Like once we figured it out, like I didn't have a dog in the fight. Let's take on the local
Dude, he's
flair
getting
here,
me
you know.
pumped up.
So it was the most unreal experience of something in person. Like, yeah, I'm telling you guys, it for Vikings fans that has to be like church. You know, it has to be. The Chiefs, you know, the Chiefs beat the drum and they do the oh, you know, and all that, and it's cool. But it was just like that deal is like a hush comes over the stadium, and they hit that horn, and then the chant starts, and it's slow and it's
I've
sick.
I've
That's
always
It's
said
awesome.
sick.
I can't
And
imagine.
you have the most wonderful football stadium too. I'm telling you, US Bank Stadium is one of the coolest places I've ever been. And the best part about it is you guys can even go to games like even Arrowhead. Like I'm an October football guy. Like October's my month. If I'm going to go watch the Chiefs play, I'm going to pick a game in October. I've been to Arrowhead in every month of the season. It sucks in November and December. It especially sucks like from Thanksgiving on. Like I'm hard pressed to go after Thanksgiving for sure. Um, but man, you guys can go anytime you go. You're going to get perfect weather. And like I've got a weird take with football. I think that the best football is played indoors. If I'm going to pay my money, I want to watch these world class athletes, and I don't want the weather involved. And that's weird, and now that's kind of sacrilegious too to probably a lot of people. But the quality of the game that you get indoors is unrivaled in my opinion.
Right.
I couldn't be a bigger fan of US Bank Stadium. And man, your Vikings are quite a team. And I feel like you guys you're on the come up here. And I think your quarterback's going to be good. And I'm excited. I watch just because of Rinkin. I follow the Vikings and stay up with them just so he and I could talk about the Vikings and whatnot. And
Has he given you any
there's a
Paul Allen calls?
oh yeah, he's given me a few of those, and he's
Yeah.
he's wonderful by the way too. But you guys got a lot to be happy for there with the Vikings. That's a great organization.
Absolutely. Well, Trenton, we kind of got past our 9:30 deal for you. I know you're a busy guy. We said we'd keep it to an hour. We didn't quite get that, but man,
I like to ramble.
no, that's great. We appreciate your time so much, man. I mean, it was when Parker told us that you had mentioned wanting to get on here, I thought that was so great. Um,
Yeah, be great. I'm glad to do it.
yeah, I just want to say, from all of us racers, thanks for what you do for the sport of racing. I mean, just hearing you give us a little bit more insight on what you do for racing, what you do for these racetracks, just pretty cool to hear that. So, I want you to know there are a lot of people that are grateful for you guys and your company.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. And you guys are doing awesome work here. This is cool to see you guys not only race, but to give back and promote the sport too with your platform and what you guys are building there. So you're doing a great job. I appreciate the opportunity to be on with you guys.
Absolutely. Well,
Appreciate that, Trent.
we'll catch you at a racetrack one of these days. All right.
All right, sounds good, guys. See you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Trenton. Take
Trenton.
care.
Appreciate it.
Bet.